I have a friend who has been having night terrors. They started pretty basically. He would wake up and he would imagine somebody was standing in his door. Somebody dark, covered in shadows, sometimes wearing a hat, sometimes wearing a large black coat. But then he'd wake up and realize that it was just a dream. But then they started getting longer and deeper. He'd feel himself trapped by the man in the doorway for longer and longer times. Then he'd wake up thinking it was over, only to see him again. Pretty soon he was experiencing 2, 3, and 4 nested dreams. And each night it seemed like an eternity cycling through these nested nightmares. Positive and negative reinforcing cycles have more or less the same structure. When they are positive, pretty much anything you do within the structure increases the positive aspects. When they turn negative, anything you do within the structure tends to increase the negative aspects. I have a friend that joined this discussion group about paranormal activity. It started innocently enough. Otherwise normal people, mostly Christians, meeting to speak about interesting things that happened to them, times when they knew somebody was about to call them, or when they heard a voice tell them where something was hidden that they'd been looking for, or when they knew which street to turn down in an unfamiliar city to find just the right item. But soon the stories started turning darker and more insidious, and pretty soon they started meeting like drug addicts, but not to share stories of how they managed to remove themselves from temptation, but of how painful the world had become and that their paranormal group was the temptation, as if they somehow began feeding off each other's negative energy. There is a theory that demons are really a metaphor for yet to be understood functions of mental illness, or demons are real, and all of our attempts to describe, define, and treat demonic possessions are really just missing the point. And that demonic possessions in the movies are very oversimplified. The more worried or angry our minds are, especially when we drift off into sleep, the more open your mind is for demons. And when demons come into your mind, they don't do so like on TV. Like on TV, there's a demon personality and a regular personality that are fighting to see who gets to control your mind-body system. That the takeover of your mind will happen much, much more slowly. Much, much more subtly. That even before the demon enters your mind, there is you, the watching you, who watches your actions and describes them. But then that you convinces you that you were the chooser rather than the watcher. And this self-deceptive ancient ego instinct is the perfect window in which the demon parasitic entities can latch onto your mind, to slip in between the watcher and the doer, to take over the doer so that you, the watcher, still believes you are in control. This is the genius of demonic parasitic infestations of your mind. Your self-awareness is always a lagging entity. Your automatic mind-body system, a collection of instincts and subconscious intentions and desires, is doing nearly all the work. That part of you that is doing all the choosing and deciding, the part that Jung recommended you make conscious, is doing all the acting and reacting. And your conscious mind has no choice other than to watch your unconscious mind and hope it makes the right decisions. And then a split second later come up with a story that supports the idea of free will, which of course is a trick. So even when the demon gains full control of your subconscious mind, you will still watch the demon make decisions and take actions. And you will still believe that what this demon is doing is your choice. They all ended up losing their jobs. Now they live under the bridge where they can buy and do their heroin. They have a story that makes it sound like it was their choice. But what really happened was a mind already infected with the demon virus infiltrated their otherwise friendly paranormal group. One theory says that when a society and its economy are growing, they are in a largely virtuous cycle. But when growth stops, they slip into a vicious cycle. A vicious cycle where everything that is tried only exacerbates the collapse. This is when demons reign supreme, and even the strongest minds are ripe for the taking. Eventually, he was too terrified to sleep. Each night's sleep was an eternity of hell. Infinitely nested dreaming loops of infinite manifestations of the demon entity of the night, always standing in the doorway, always releasing him into what he thought was an awakened state of safety, which turned out to be another eternity of torture. I haven't seen him in a while. He checked himself into a mental hospital and is continuously on heavy medication. He looks passive on the outside, but I fear that inside he is still trapped in eternal turmoil.